Good evening, citizens. Of the town of Dumfries. We apologize for that inconvenience. We were temporarily hacked. We're going to get back to our presentation of the 2024 fiscal plan. Our Deputy Town Manager, Jonae Provost-White, will get back into her presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, citizens of Dumfries. My name is Jonae Provost-White, Deputy Town Manager of the Town of Dumfries. It's my pleasure to present the proposed fiscal plan for fiscal year 2024, as well as our 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2024 through 2029. With interest rates the highest they've been in 10 years, bank failures, and rising costs of goods and service, financial stability will be the key that maintains our town through turmoil. We've crafted our fiscal year 2024 budget with the focus on investing in our community, investing in our organization. The budget, which is our strategic primary planning tool, is built on a solid foundation. The budget was developed in adherence with sound financial practices. All revenues equal expenditures, and structural balance is achieved with one-time revenues being dedicated only in support of non-reoccurring expenses. No transfers from the unassigned fund balance were used to balance this budget. The proposed documents provide the public with a complete overview of the town's finances, inclusive of debt service fund balance as well as capital projects. Our proposed capital budget continues to be fully funded and supported entirely with grants and pay-as-you-go cash, thus having no impact to our debt capacity. We also continue our commitment to performance-based budgeting using data and metrics. Proof positive of our foundation and our adherence to best practices. Next slide. For the 4th year in a row, the town has received the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the Government Financial Officers Association for our fiscal year 2023 budget. The GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award Program encourages state and local governments to prepare budget documents of the very highest quality that reflect both the guidelines established by the National Advisory Council on State and Local Budgeting and the GFOA Best Practices on Budgeting. Staff continues to improve the budget based on conservative comments received by the GFOA to ensure our continued success in budget presentation and planning. Next slide. Next slide. We continue to grow by design, not by default. Over the past 4 years, the town has seen continued growth in our planned budget revenue. Even in the years following the pandemic, local taxes have been able to grow, in some cases by double-digit percentages. Between fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2022, the town experienced a 30% growth rate. This year saw a growth rate of 22%. Double-digit growth for a small town of 5,600 people is unprecedented. Growth at this level will continue to assist the town in realizing our goal of Dumfries as a destination place and afford services to its residents on par with the surrounding localities in scale. Next slide. Let's begin with revenue. The total proposed fiscal year 2024 general fund budget is $10.7 million. This represents a 49% increase from the previous fiscal year. Looking at the chart, our diverse revenue pool continues to reflect that our biggest revenue source is local taxes. Sales, meals tax, and gaming tax account for over 66% of the town's revenue, 20% more than fiscal year 23. Next slide. Overall, we are projecting gains in 9 tax categories. Revenues from real estate are up 7%, attributed to increases in assessed values as well as new residential commercial development within the town. In total, local taxes are projected to be up 115% overall. Our DMV Select revenues continue to flourish with new contracts expected to increase by 74%. These significant gains are attributed to the opening of the new Rose Gaming Resort with an anticipated opening date of January 2024 and do not reflect a full year's worth of tax revenue from the facility. As a reminder, the gaming resort will feature 8 new restaurants, phase 1 of a luxury hotel, and 15,000 square foot of convention and cultural space with this anticipated January opening. Next slide. Drilling down on our 4 key areas, we can see increases in real estate tax and double-digit projections in transient, meals, and gaming tax. These 4 line items represent a 126% increase from last year's budget. Our team works diligently to adhere to best practices, improve our collections, keeping expenditures in line, and overall being good stewards of the taxpayer resources. It is at this point that I encourage you to begin thinking about the face of Dunfree and what it means for us to be a destination place. All of us will be able to realize long-range vision and improvements for the town that you only see in localities with large, expensive real estate tax bases. Next slide. This next slide shows our real estate tax rate compares to other jurisdictions. Other towns within Northern Virginia, this next slide shows how our real estate tax compares to other jurisdictions and other towns within Northern Virginia region. As I stated, our staff has worked diligently to be efficient with existing resources while also creating new revenue streams that allows Dumfries to continue to enjoy one of the lowest real estate tax rates. To reiterate, it is important that the plan for this year to keep the current real estate tax rate flat for FY24 budget. Next slide. One last look at our future growth shows our next budget for fiscal year in year 25 in the realm of $20 million. Fiscal year 2026 will see more modest growth rates as a full 12 months of gaming, meals, and transient tax revenue for even more accurate forecasting. With the aid of our financial consultant, we can begin to project long-range capital planning more than 2 years ahead. Next slide. Moving on to our investments in our organization. The focus for this year's budget is improving and increasing services and events. Our residents' concern about having safe spaces for our children to recreate has been heard. We are only weeks away from our first ever fitness course located adjacent to Ginn Memorial Park. This recreational improvement will provide town residents with an open outdoor area to exercise and participate in group classes. Additional plans are underway for a summer concert series, new camp activities, and possible after-school programs for our youth. Additional funding is planned for a summer youth employment program, giving our young residents an opportunity to lifelong skills and insight into the dedication of government service. We have included funding for a Main Street business beautification initiative, park improvements for new inclusive play equipment, running a drinking water supply to Ginn Park for water fountains, building upgrades, and more civic engagement activities. Next slide. Moving to the investments in our organization, our police department has been hard at work finding ways to improve public safety. The shooting this past January proved the hard work of our first responders and dedication to keeping the town safe. The department has won grant money to install shot detecting cameras in those areas with high gun violence. Dumfries competes with almost every locality for qualified police officers and personnel. Other localities have voiced their struggles with keeping police officer positions filled. The Virginia retirement system, in addition to pay, healthcare, and location, plays a key factor in how job seekers choose employment. Salaries continue to lag behind inflation rates, with inflation reaching its highest rate of 9.1% in June 22. As the employment landscape evolves and competition for qualified workers intensify, we must continue investing in our most critical resource. The steps taken last year to improve attrition rates by increasing starting pay for police officers and providing 100% employer-funded healthcare for both employees and their families resulted in our police department to date having only 1 vacancy. The proposed budget includes a 5% market rate adjustment for most town positions. It also supports new positions, 1 in our finance operation and 3 in our administration operations to provide assistance in human resources, civic engagement, and customer service, as well as 5 new police officer positions. Next slide. Looking at the chart for expenditures, our administration makes up 41% of the expense budget, with public safety at 26%. Increases in these areas are necessary for the town not only to regain a level of customer service of pre-pandemic conditions, but also spread workloads among qualified personnel to increase police protection in park areas, increase expected traffic conditions during large event, and coverage for the new Rose Gaming facility. Next slide. Here are the highlights by focus area to reiterate our strategic planning goals. So priorities in our economic vitality focus area are to improve key development activities. Next slide. Our proposed budget continues to fund the Destination Dumfries initiative, adding to it funding for strategic planning and updating our comprehensive plan. State law requires our comprehensive plan to be updated every 5 years. Next slide. Our public safety focus area encompasses law enforcement as well as emergency management. With the increase in visitors to the new gaming facility, restaurant, and concert venues, police coverage is critical. That's why our proposed budget includes funding for 5 additional police officers. These additional officers will allow us to continue to be visible through the community, even as new residential and commercial development increases, increase traffic control, and monitor activities while maintaining coverage around the town. Next slide. Sustainability and infrastructure focus on areas incorporate transportation, stormwater, and the natural environment. The Route 1 widening project is our top concern. With the design phase wrapping up, each passing month, staff increases their time and attention to the next phase of right-of-way acquisition, utility relocation, and construction. Our MS4 permit regulatory requirements are continues to be a priority for staff that staff is dedicated to achieving. Maintenance to our stormwater pond continues as required by our MS4 program plan and annual permit. Updates to our impervious area map ensures the town maintains an accurate depiction of newly developed impervious areas and their impact on the water quality of Quantico Creek. Next slide. Priorities in the well-managed government focus areas seek to strengthen our internal controls, ensure our sound fiscal management, and invest in our human capital needs. The proposed budget includes 1 new position in finance, which will support the implementation of audit recommendations, procurement, and enhance our long-range planning. We will also provide 3 positions to administration with town clerk and civic engagement events. Next slide. Our proposed capital improvement plan reflects our continued efforts to complete projects currently underway. All capital projects in the current plan are funded entirely by grants and pay-as-you-go cash for fiscal year 24. The CIP budget is $2.3 million, and it includes 1 new project which will provide needed upgrades to our rescue squad building for the eventual conversion to a community center. Funding continues for park improvements and new police vehicles and stormwater pond restoration. The review and the adoption of the town budget is a public process. On March 31st, the proposed budget document was posted and distributed on the town's website. All fiscal plan documents can be accessed directly off the town's website homepage. In addition to those fiscal plan documents, the website will continue to be updated with presentations from tonight's meeting. The CIP, will be continuously updated with presentations from the CIP presentation, as well as the April 10th meeting, as well as additional budget meeting on April 18th, where residents were able to come and ask more questions concerning the budget. The public hearing for the fiscal year 24 budget is May 16th. Council meeting May 16th council meeting prior to the public hearing. Citizens can provide feedback in the budget on the comment section of the website, as well as an email to pio@dumfriesva.gov. In closing, I'd like to reiterate that the fiscal year 24 plan was completed in adherence with sound financial practices, and our plan addresses where we are currently while continue to provide the roadmap for our future. Thank you. You didn't see any questions?
I don't see not one question. Not one. And everybody on is Nick, me, Tangi, and Councilman P.
Yes,
supposed
but we don't see any questions on
No,
the,
yeah, who's gonna ask question? Councilmember P?
no one else is logged in.
Tangi-
Is there a
Tangi-
question there?
See, Tangi just type that.
Are there any more questions with any citizen that's watching, like to submit any questions for staff to answer?
Deputy Town Manager, we have not received any questions in the chat nor our PIO email at this time.
Thank you for that, Tangi. So since there are no questions, we will adjourn tonight's meeting. And I thank everyone for their attendance. And again, we apologize for